So I am tapped in with somebody who has very, very, very powerful energy. But here's the thing, the powerful energy came out. But here's the thing about what I have to say about that. I feel like whomever I'm talking to, it's either you don't know how powerful you are, or it's you don't believe it. You don't believe, what you're capable of. You don't believe, what it is, say, even manifesting. I feel like I'm talking to a few people, a group of people that you're ones you have to watch your thoughts. You have to watch what you think about, because what you think about you bring about. And even for instance, all of us at times we can get into negative mindsets. We can get into those rabbit holes where we go down this negative spiral. And if we're having a little bit of a bad day, or if our energy's off just by a little bit, and we start going again down that spiral and we start thinking negative thoughts, well, that how powerful you are, you going down those spirals, you could manifest that into your life. That's why I say, whoever I'm talking to, whoever I'm tapped in with, you got to be very, very careful. So what I'm getting, because underneath powerful energy, I drew the here and now card. I feel like this is the universe speaking to you. I feel like this is the universe, asking you. I don't even feel like it's asking. I feel like the universe is putting circumstances in your path to force you almost to do this, to not worry about the past, and not worrying about where you're going in the future. I feel like the universe has, is like, okay, collective, we've sat back and watched long enough. You don't see what we see. You don't see how far you've come. I feel like for a lot of you, you have done so much work on yourself that, you could be a very different person than you used to be. And this doesn't even have to be physically. It can be energetically, and I feel like this is the universe's way of being like, okay, pump the brakes. Okay, we're going to take a rest right here. We need to rest. We need to catch our breath. We need to, be here right now to, thank you, Spirit, extract the magic that's in your life as we see it right now. What I mean by that is, if you're so worried about, what you've been through and where you've come from, again, there's nothing wrong with that. Always remember where you come from, right? How are you going to remember how much progress you've made unless you remember where you come from? But it's more or less, yeah, remember where you come from, but don't dwell on it. Don't be like, oh yeah, I've done this in my life that makes me a bad person, or I've done that, or I've done this. How can I ever be a good person after doing something like that? No. People change. That's a thing. People change every day. And I feel like you not being ashamed of what has happened in your past, you not dwelling on what's happened and moving past that. I feel like there's even times I'm getting, there's times where you do move past that. You do push past the what you've been through. But I feel like the moment you press past that and you sit in the present moment, you start, reminiscing on, okay, well, what is it that I want for my future? You start being like, well, I need this, I want to accomplish this, I want to be this person, I want to, I still have a lot more to go. But here's the thing, you're bouncing from one extreme to the next. You're going from worrying about your past, and then skipping right over the present moment, and you're going and worrying about the future. I feel like for a lot of you, right before I pressed record on this, I was getting, I think it is, oh, what is the name of it? Red garnet. Red garnet crystal popped into my head. And it's a little, I have a little tiny one. And for some reason that popped into my head. I feel like a lot of you will benefit from wearing red garnet or working with red garnet if that is something you do, is work with crystals, which you should. Crystals are very powerful. But red garnet, and correct me if I'm wrong, but red garnet helps you with in your nervous system. It helps you, stay grounded. It helps you, reset almost, and I feel like maybe that's what you need. I feel like maybe, the worrying, it helps with anxiety and worry. And I feel like that could be what's stopping you from being in the present moment. And I feel like that's why this came out underneath powerful energy, because Spirit wants you to be in the present moment to realize how powerful you are, to realize, I feel like if you watch a lot of other tarot readers, I feel like you look at them and you're like, wow, they're just so powerful. I want to be like them. I wish I was like them, and I feel like that Spirit is literally almost laughing, and it's like, how do you not see it? How do you not see how powerful you are already? How powerful, the things that you can manifest in this, 3D realm. I feel like it's almost like I'm getting an energy from your guides, almost like they're not mad. They're just, it's a can't believe kind of vibration. It's a, how we've put everything in front of this person. How do they not see how powerful they really are? How do they not see it? Everybody else sees it. How do they not see it? So, that being said, I feel like this is, again, Spirit's way of coming through and being like, maybe working on that. Maybe, putting things into action when it comes to that. Like I said, crystals, there's many, 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 many different crystals for anxiety and worry and, doubt and, all that great jazz. So we're going to pull more on this. But we're also going to move on to the next one. And the next card that I pulled was see the situation for what it is. See the situation for what it is. Again, going back to, Spirit being very loud here and wanting you to see yourself as they see you, as everybody else sees you. And you don't. So maybe, that's what this is. It is. I mean, I can't get past that. It's seeing the situation, seeing you being the situation, seeing you for what you are, seeing you in all your beauty and all your power and all your, everything that you don't see, if that makes any sense. Seeing you through others' eyes if you can't see yourself through your own eyes. Underneath, see the situation for what it is. The situation in this being you. Seeing that for what it is, finally, I feel like that unlocks something. I feel like that's what unlocks something for you. It unlocks like almost like a hidden power, even more. I feel like once you start believing how powerful you are, once you start, noticing, oh wow, maybe everybody is right, maybe my guides are right, maybe I really am that powerful. Yeah, I feel like once you do that, it unlocks it even more. Once you accept that, I feel like you're unlocking it even more. You're unlocking more of your gifts. You're unlocking more of your, what you can do, what you can manifest. I feel like even, right now as it is, you are a master manifester, but which this is going to be, hard to explain, because how can you get better than a master manifester? But I feel like when you finally see this situation for what it is, when you finally see yourself for who you are, it unlocks it even more. It's like the floodgates, they just open wide, and you're even better, you're even stronger, your everything enhances even more. And that's what brings you abundance. This is underneath. See the situation for what it is. It's poise, this happiness, it's wish fulfillment, it's victory, it's being so happy, feeling so grateful, feeling so gifted, feeling so alive that you don't even know, what to do with yourself. You're like, oh my gosh, how did I not see this before? How did I not, how did I feel like for some of you, it's almost like you're forcing yourself not to see this. You're forcing yourself not to realize. I feel like for some of you, this might scare you a little bit. I'm feeling, maybe how powerful you are, to an extent. I feel like what you're capable of. You could, have been somebody that you have manifested some crazy shit in your life, so you may know how powerful you are, and you may know that with the power that you have in the wrong hands could be very, very dangerous. And so this power may scare you. You may not feel, I feel like for some of you, you feel like you're not worthy enough for this power. You feel like you're not worthy enough, to carry, such power, such, yeah, that's what I'm getting. You might be scared of it. You might be, again, working with crystals. That keeps coming up. Spirit keeps directing me that way. Working with crystals, there's obviously, if you're scared to face yourself, seeing yourself for what and who you are, again, seeing the situation for what it is. You are a master manifestor. You are a master, alchemist, seeing yourself for who you are at your most authentic. I feel like, there's some things in there that crystals can help you with. It sounds like there's a little bit of blockages. It sounds like, and it sounds really fear-based too. And just remember, fear is something we make up. Fear is something that us as humans, we make up as a defense mechanism, because of when things are uncertain and when we don't know which direction something's going to go, or what's going to happen when we do X, Y, and Z. You don't know the outcome. So yes, that's when fear-based thinking comes into play. And that's when we, we self-sabotage a lot. Thank you, Spirit. We self-sabotage a lot. And, I feel like that's not what you want to do. I feel like you don't even mean to, right? You don't want to self-sabotage. You don't want to not believe who you are, but there's a blockage. For some of you, it could be a witched wound. I'm getting a witch wound. I got tongue-tied for a second there. So a lot of you, it's a witch wound that you maybe there's, some of you may benefit from a past life regression reading, and or anything in that matter, to help you overcome something that has followed you from one life into this one. It has attached itself to you, and it cut you so deep that your soul remembers what happened. Your soul remembers, the trauma it went through for accepting the power that you had in another life. This is exactly what it could be. All right, we're going to move on. Again, being here and now, realizing how powerful you really are, realizing and pinpointing, you know, the blockages, pinpointing the blockages where they are, pinpointing, you know, whereabouts you could do a little bit of tweaking in your energetic field, in your energy body, you know, and then seeing it for what it is. And not only just seeing it for what it is, but accepting it for accepting you for who you are, you know, and being okay with who you are, being okay with, you know, you being powerful. You know, I know there's a lot of talk about, you know, and I don't know all of it, but there's a lot of talk about, you know, I've heard people be like, oh, well, you shouldn't have power like that. Only God can have power like that. But in all actuality, you know, there's God in everybody. There's God. He made us, he, she, it, whatever, made us like them, like him, like her. And that's for a reason. That is for a reason. So yes, you do possess this power. We all do. But again, who I am tapping in with, the group that I am tapping in with, you are more powerful than you believe. You are more powerful than you could probably even, you know, fathom. I feel like you think you're an underdog or something. You feel like, you know, maybe some of you come from a religious family, you know, and that could be one of the blockages. That could be what stops you. You know, it may be against your religion to be able to possess, you know, these types of abilities, the clairs, you know, if that is what you're into, is, you know, the seeing, the hearing, the feeling, the tasting, you know, the deep knowing without having any reason to know what you know. You just know it, you know. And I feel like, you know, you go round and round in your head, you think about it a lot, and you're like, well, you know, this isn't right in my family. This isn't right. You know, I couldn't tell anybody this. They wouldn't accept this. They wouldn't accept me, you know. And maybe that's why. Maybe that's one of your blockages, is family matters. But also I have to tell you about that is, you know, because I too come from a religious family, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. You know, I've tried to explain to my parents many, many times, and, you know, it doesn't go the way you'd expect it to go. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's more or less, you know, you'll learn to respect their beliefs. And if they are emotionally mature as well, they will learn to respect your beliefs at the end of the day. And if not, then that brings you to a choice, you know, whether to distance yourself or and follow your heart, if that is what your heart is telling you to do, is to pursue, you know, this pull that you have when it comes to spirituality, or, you know, or not to, you know. There's no wrong answer. There's absolutely no wrong answer. Your third card that you got is you're an empath. You're an empath. Again, with those, you know, those abilities. You know, you could have been very different in your family. You could have, you know, as they say, the black sheep. You were different. You felt things to the extremes. You more than maybe your siblings, if you have siblings. You know, heard beyond people's words. I just heard, thank you, Spirit. You heard beyond people's words, so you could be clairaudient. You know, people may say things and you heard more that they weren't saying, but their soul was saying. Okay, I can, you know, I can definitely relate to that. You know, it's just like When people say reading between the lines, there's truth. There's a lot of truth to that, but it's not necessarily with clairaudience. It's not necessarily, reading between the lines. I guess a little bit it is, but it's more or less you're really diving deep into the emotions they're putting behind the words that they are saying. And say someone goes and lies, right off the bat, just hearing what they had to say, right off the bat that what they just said didn't match the emotion that they hold deep inside their heart. You could tune in with people's hearts a lot, energetic fields, like you tap right in, and you may have, say for instance, somebody lied in a group when you were younger, and you knew that person was lying, and you told everybody this person was lying, and people probably thought you were just being a troublemaker, and you were making things up, and you were just starting stuff. I don't know why that whole imagery just came to me, but we're gonna go with it. And that may have helped. When I say help, that may have helped everyone else that's not like you or not as awakened as you. It may have helped them put that label of black sheep on you, because they didn't feel as deep as you feel. They didn't hear as deep as you hear. Clairaudient, they didn't, again, have the senses that you have. Again, it says you are an empath. That is the third card, and right under that we have message in a bottle. I want to pull on that. Let me tune in with that real quick, collective. Yeah, so empath, I'm getting, message in a bottle. I'm getting, you get all these messages. So going back to what I was just saying, I'm sorry, my nose is itchy. You going back to what you were saying, what we were saying about the whole empath thing and feeling feeling deeper than what people feel. I feel like that's where you get your messages. That's one of your greatest gifts, is feeling. So, clairsentience, I think that is, what is that? I think that's what that's called. So, feeling things without having, any evidence of why you feel the way you feel. Okay, just like the whole going back to you were in a group and somebody lied and you were like, no, they're lying. And this person's swearing up and down, no, I told the truth. But you had no proof to prove that this person was lying. So you became the troublemaker in everyone's eyes, So again, you receive all these messages day in and day out, and you don't even realize that not everybody can do that to the extent that you can do that. Not everybody can, feel to the extent that you're feeling, the deepness that you're feeling it. And when you're diving deep, this happens with me. When somebody says something to me and I really feel into exactly what they say, because I listen. I really listen to words. That's just what I do. And when I feel something or tap into what they're saying, I barely listen to what it is they're speaking. I more or less listen to what they are and feel to what they are pushing with the vibration that goes along with the words that they're saying. That is how I'm communicating. I communicate with people through vibration a lot more than I do through words, because when somebody starts out with a deceitful energy to me, I don't even listen. I either walk away or say, hey, I got something I need to go do, or, so on and so forth. Like, for some reason, it just, when someone's lying to you, but you can't prove it. So you just want to disengage instantly. That is my reaction, is disengage. And, I'll be like, oh, wow. Yep. Look at the time. I gotta go. Sorry. It was nice chatting with you, but gotta go, and sometimes that's probably best, because a lot of people, they don't like truth. They don't like, when people tell them they're wrong, they don't like, you know, a lot of people don't like that. They don't like when, you know, you say you walked around all day long and told people, well, you just lied there, or you just lied there, and you're being deceitful there. How are people really going to react to you, right? I don't think it's going to go over very well. So what I do is I listen. I take in a lot of information. Again, with that message in a bottle, you're taking in so much fucking information all the time that, oh, I'm getting a little side note there. Hold on. You're taking in so much information all the time, you know, it could be overwhelming. It could be, you know, very scary for people to experience if you start calling them out on everything. So, you know, what's really worth your energy? And that little side energy that tried to push through was you being an empath and intaking all this information all the time. You know, learn to cleanse your energy by the end of the day. If you got a job and you're out and about and around a lot of people, or if you're even connecting with a lot of people throughout the day, you know, again, you're intaking all other people's emotions, and it's filling up like a bath water. It's filling up like, you know, it's like bath water, I should say. And it's filling up, you know, and that tub is going to get full and it's going to start running over. And you know, you don't want to overwhelm yourself. You don't want to drown. You don't want to, and it's not even drowning in your emotions, it's drowning in other people's. So, you know, learning a good clearing and cleansing practice to do is the best thing that, you know, the best advice I could give to empaths is to learn to do that. You know, I implemented it in my life a few years ago, and I don't regret a thing. Nope. I don't regret a thing, and I will not go back to how I used to do things. All right. Again, okay, on the top of the deck, you had round and round. So you got round and round, and then you got thinker. I think that was it. Yes. So you got round and round and thinker. To me, that screams, you know, well, this whole gist of this thing is you not realizing how powerful you are. You not realizing, you know, not only that, you know, learning to have boundaries. Boundaries are good. A lot of people are going to think boundaries are not good, but they are. When you are an empath, you need them. You need them, collective. And, you know, creating boundaries and creating a cleansing process that you do when you come home, and, you know, really sitting with yourself too. Spirit, really, that's the biggest energy here, is sitting with yourself and realizing how powerful you are, realizing, you know, how much you're intaking in for information that's not yours, that could be detrimental to your energetic field if you don't cleanse it out and or transmute it. Okay, and transmuting, there's a whole nother video, and there's plenty of videos online about transmutation and, you know, how to do that and doing it correctly. And I wouldn't settle on one video. I would go look at many different videos of transmutation. And, you know, what I do is I go and I look at many different videos, and same with clearing and cleansing. You know, I go and look at many different videos, and then I pick little pieces from each one and create my own that's best suits me and how I feel. And I feel like, you know, you could do that with transmutation information. And I think that's what's going to help you the most. You know, I feel like once you start implementing things into your, you know, really waking up and being like, wait a minute. Some of you may not know that you're extracting information from people when they talk to you. You're extracting it through feelings. How does it feel? Does it feel like someone just lied to you, even though they didn't show any inclination that they lied? Does it feel trustworthy when you receive it into your heart center? That's what I do. When I first hear somebody lie, you know, when I know what deceit feels like. I've been lied to before. So when I receive that from somebody, again, a message in a bottle, when I receive, because empath, if I receive that information from people, it instantly feels heavy on my heart. It feels heavy, like, ooh, I almost want to be like that, like, ooh, no, disengage, you know, because it's not something that I want to expose myself to. And it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. But, you know, making that decision not to engage with people like that, and making the decision of, you know, what are you, ask yourself, what is it that you are exposing yourself to in life that you don't even realize you're exposing yourself to? Does, you know, you go into work and someone just shit talks and shit talks and shit talks, and you sit there and listen to it? Why? You know, maybe disengage from that. Just be like, oh, I'm gonna go start my day and blah blah blah, you know. And really, yeah, you got why. Why engage? Why sit there and listen to? You don't have to. You're not rude for walking off. You're not rude for creating them boundaries. You know, boundaries are going to help you. When you are an empath, you have to have boundaries. Oh my God, you got to have boundaries. You got to. You're going to go crazy. And so yeah, the gist of this energy, the gist of this energy is, you know, you realizing how powerful you are, you realizing, you know, how much other people's energy is affecting you, you seeing each situation in your life for what it actually is, you seeing yourself for what you actually are. And that's going to bring you abundance. That's going to bring you happiness. That's going to bring you joy. That's going to bring you freedom. I just heard. Thank you, Spirit. That's going to bring you freedom. Realizing when you're, I feel like Spirit just gave me, realizing when you're receiving information through your body. I feel like a lot of you are going to receive it through your body like I do. Realize when you're receiving that. Okay? Somebody could have just said, I gotta go to work. Or somebody says, you overhear two coworkers and one's like, oh, well, want to go to the gym today? And then the other coworker's like, oh no, I gotta go to the grocery store. But you instantly, as soon as you hear you gotta go to the grocery store, what do you feel? Do you feel deceit? Do you feel like that person just lied to that person? How do you know that? Because you're receiving it. You're receiving messages. Again, messages. Energetic messages you're receiving. How do you know that person just lied to them? Realizing how powerful you actually are. That's the biggest thing here today. That's what I have for you, collective. Take care. Stay blessed.